This video is going to introduce you to the idea of joining together multiple tables. In our little database, we have two tables that are connected to each other. The first one's called checks. This is a table showing check ID, date, the employee that signed it, and the amount. You'll notice though that the employee who signed the check column has numbers in it. That's because this is going to be what's called a foreign key. A foreign key is used to connect rows in two different tables together. If you look at the employees table, you'll see that we have a primary key. This is a number value where each row has a unique number. So let's go and find who this employee number 4 is. You can see that Valley is the person who's been signing these checks. Now, it's a little bit cumbersome to try and connect these two together right now. You'll have to look in the checks table, locate their ID, then go to the employees table and search for anything matching that ID. It'd be a lot more convenient if we could run a single query that has all of the information about our employee as well as all the information about our check. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll start off with the same as we always do with a select statement. This time though, I'm going to go ahead and tell it exactly what fields I want. I'm going to say select all the fields from checks. And I usually run the query at this point just to make sure it comes back with something. What's happening here is that this is the name of the table. Once I start combining multiple tables together, it helps if I can tell the computer what fields are in each table. Checks.star gives me all the fields from checks. I could also just do the check.checks amount if I want a little bit less, but for now I'm going to do star. Now that I have the checks data working right, I need to join that with the employees data. Let's go ahead and add that line next. All right, so we have now our checks table and our employees table. Now, if I just run the query like this, it does run, but if you notice, I have a ton of rows. What's happening here is that it's joining every single row in checks with every single row in employees, which is not ideal. I really want to make the two of them match. I want each row in the checks data to use this key to link to the employee. This is how we use the on clause. On is going to link the two tables together. We're going to have it be where checks dot the employee signing check field is equal to the employees dot the employee primary key. This way now I only get rows where the employee is the one who's signing the check. I'd also like to get some fields from the employees table too. So I'm going to come back up on top and do employees dot first name and employees dot last name. Now I have the right number of rows. I don't end up with checks coming in multiple times. And each one has the matching information. So the employee signing check foreign key is the same as the primary key for the person. And now the person shows up properly. If you want to visualize this a little more clearly, you can add in the employees dot employee primary key. And then you can see here we have the primary key from employees is matching the foreign key here. The key to think about though is that the values are identical. We only come back where both match. If you're thinking about a where clause, it kind of looks like a where clause, except instead of setting it just equal to a value like say number 4, instead we say it's equal to a field in another table. Let's do another example. Let's try to link the checks table with the suppliers table. I'm going to go ahead and delete all the employee information just so I have a little bit less clutter here. First, we need to identify how these two tables are going to connect. We're going to look for a field in each one that matches. Inside of the checks table, you can see we have this field called supplier ID. That looks like a foreign key because it's information that's contained in a separate table. So let's go ahead and pull that out first. We know that's going to be part of our on clause. Now let's go ahead and do our second part. We're going to look and see what table we're trying to link this with. Well, I can look in the database schema over here on the right and see some ideas of what tables might match and what fields might match. So we can see our table is called suppliers. That goes on the third line with our inner join. Now I could again run all of this without the on clause. However, I get back too many rows. If you scroll down, you'll notice that we've got duplicates. And that's because every single check is being linked with every single supplier, which I don't want. I only want the suppliers that match. So to do the link here, the key is to think about one foreign key and one primary key. Inside of the checks table, we have a foreign key called supplier ID. That's because this links to a different table. In the suppliers table, I have the supplier underscore ID field, which is the primary key for each supplier. So I'm going to come back on the top and do suppliers dot supplier ID. Now when I run this again, you'll see I now have each check showing up only one time, and that's listed with its specific supplier over here on the side. And that's because I have my foreign key and my primary key.